Welcome to the RE Human Layer Security Podcast, the show that flips the script on cybersecurity. I'm Tim Sadler, the CEO and co-founder of Tessian, and in each episode, I'll be interviewing IT and business leaders about why we need to protect people, not just machines and data, to stop breaches and empower businesses to achieve their missions. Hi everyone, this week I'm excited to be joined by Confidence Staveley, a cybersecurity awareness evangelist and a professional with over a decade's experience in technology. Her organization, CyberSafe Foundation, is an NGO on a mission to ensure a safer internet for everyone with digital access in Africa. Its cybersecurity awareness campaigns have reached over 10 million people in Nigeria, and it has delivered cybersecurity training for nearly 4,500 SMEs. Confidence also launched Cybergirls, a free one-year fellowship to equip girls with cybersecurity skills and set them up for successful careers in the industry. Her contributions to the cybersecurity industry have not gone unnoticed. Confidence recently won the 2021 Cybersecurity Woman of the Year Awards, and she's emerged as one of the top 50 women in Cybersecurity Africa 2020. Welcome to the show, Confidence.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. Tim,
it's great to have you with us today.
Same here, it's a pleasure.
The work that you're doing in raising cybersecurity awareness is incredibly inspiring. Maybe we can kick things off with you explaining a little bit more about the CyberSafe Foundation.
Yeah, that's a great place to start from. I think you already started off really well, mentioning that we're not, an NGO, a non-governmental organization, and that for me simply means that we are filling a gap. The gap between the efforts made by the government and the private sector in solving cybercrime issues. And we're doing this, from multiple angles. I mean, you can agree with me that cybercrime is a multi-headed beast. So bridging that gap from multiple angles, bringing new perspectives and fresh approaches, especially from the human angle, is what we exist for. And we believe that when we invest in human capacity and then drive behavioral changes successfully, we'll be able to overcome this monster. And so what we have been doing since our inception is literally facilitating pockets of changes that drive these human behavioral changes and also increase human capacity in cybersecurity, generally speaking. And why this is very important work for us is that we're especially focusing on the most vulnerable people and businesses in our communities, and that's what we are about. We are able to do the work we do through a range of initiatives that we have, through events, through collaborations with, and helping other partners in the ecosystem deliver their projects. And some of the very interesting initiatives we have is Logo for Maga, which what we do is we drive cybersecurity and awareness, especially from the social engineering angle, in a way that helps the end user of technology make the best decision in their everyday use of technology to ensure that they are not victims of fraud. We also have something for the older generation, 50 and above. We call it Shine Your Eye, literally open your eyes very well, and be able to detect fraud. So what we're teaching them is cyber hygiene best practices for people age 50 and above that are generally not digital natives. We have something for children as well, where we're leveraging storytelling to help children understand the new domain and digital world generally, and navigate the digital world, comfortably and confidently as informed netizens. We also have something for the girls, which you've mentioned earlier on, which we are equipping girls with globally sought after cybersecurity skills. So it's an interesting journey we've been leading in the space so far.
Yeah, that's incredible. And could you tell us a bit about how it came about and your specific role within the organization?
Oh, okay. So I literally just noticed that gap and I needed to fill it. And there was a personal occurrence as well in my life before Cybersecurity Foundation, I've been doing cybersecurity awareness, in little in a small scale, like getting interviewed on radio stations, casually doing it. And then I realized that there was this big need, and I just thought, to fill it up, to start a movement, because I realized that there was that gap. And my role in the organization is strategy, because I'm the founder and executive director. So I lead a lot of strategy work we do. I manage the teams that we have involved. Of course, meaning that I have a lot of the work of visioning and seeing things before they become reality. That's a core part of my job description, and just leading the organization on an everyday basis, ensuring that our initiatives are successful and we are getting the right partners to work with us.
And what do you think has been the organization's biggest achievement today? So if you had to pick one of the things that you're most proud of, what would that be?
I think I will pick the launch of the No Go For MAGA song. It's an Afrobeat song that was part of our work with the UK government during the COVID-19 period, the peak of the COVID-19 period in Nigeria. So we called it a Safe Digital Community during COVID-19. And as part of that cybersecurity response that the UK government needed to make in Nigeria to help, curb crime, we came on board as the front of house implementation partner. And one of the key things we did was we created this Afrobeat song that is so groovy, like you could dance to it at a party. But it wasn't just a song; it was a song that was teaching about cyber hygiene, best practices, and why this is so important for us is we're able to scale our message to a wide audience. We're able to reach over 10 million people. And generally speaking, it's also very symbolic for us, because music in Nigeria is used to peddle all sorts of negative, bad vices in society, from promoting fraud to drugs, and it's quite mainstream. So we needed to use that same tool that's mainstreaming negative vices and teach something positive and help people gain new habits. And I think this is something very, very key, generally speaking, that we believe works. When we mainstream cybersecurity awareness and make it enjoyable and make it relatable to the average person, we empower people to know the right things to do when they're faced with, these threats. Interestingly as well, post implementing that project for the UK government, we're able to secure a partnership with the Committee of Chief Information Security Officers for all the financial institutions in Nigeria. And what that collaboration has done for us is that song is going to be adopted, or has been adopted, and our effort is going to be scaled, which means we're reaching way more people than we had actually envisaged we'll be able to reach with this song. So for me, and for the organization generally, I would pick that as our biggest achievement to date.
That's great. And I was watching the video for the song before the podcast today, and it is incredible. As you say, it's the first time I've seen security awareness being communicated, through song. But could you tell us a bit more about, again, why is that important in terms of having this, mainstream impact and actually spreading awareness about cyber hygiene to people?
Okay, so a lot of people don't know about the reality, especially in Nigeria. It's a bit distant for a lot of people to relate with until it's too late. So for us, very key thing that we always look out to achieve is not being nerdy in the way we communicate, because then people begin to see cybersecurity as complex and unrelatable, but simplifying it and making it relatable and making it, eases our landing spots, sort of eases things for us to get access to people and help them understand and appreciate these things and get the knowledge to them in a way that they can easily apply and they can easily pick up. So for us, that song delivers it in that way, because we're not children. Yeah, you children enjoy learning while playing, but as adults, we also learn better when we're enjoying what we're learning. I think it's that psychology, or rather that thought process, is what has led us to use a song, and the need to also make it mainstream is also why a song is such a great tool to use.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I mean, making something accessible and engaging, I think. And you're right, security so often has that, it's got that complex image associated with it, or you have to be a computer scientist to understand what's going on. And of course, this is something that impacts everybody, right? And what are some of the outcomes that you've seen from this work and communicating in this way through music?
The feedback has been amazing. I mean, I was talking to a woman who called in who is a little petty trader in obscure part of Nigeria, and she just called to say thank you so much that she's turned on two-factor authentication on her Facebook profile. You know, she now understands how scammers are doing what they're doing over the phone. By the way, phishing is quite a big thing in Nigeria. People call people up on the phone and get their one-time passwords and get their card details and get quite a lot of personal and sensitive information. So she was saying, oh, she now knows not to give any of that information away. And so we've been getting that kind of reaction. And I believe that was very key to us seeing that this was a great method to use, and also what has driven the collaboration or the need to collaborate with another entity that would help us even further drive the learnings and further scale on the impact.
Yeah, that is that is amazing. And again, to have that impact, and if you save one person from being defrauded, this has all been worth it. But the reach, I'm sure, is to tens of thousands of people. You spoke a little bit then about phishing. Could you tell us more about, specifically what are some of the most common cyber threats that people are facing in Nigeria?
Oh, very easily. Social engineering is the number one. Yeah. So people are being manipulated to give off very sensitive information. And while social engineering is a big thing, we also find that in social engineering, there are different scams that are going around. Aside, getting freebies, which a lot of people want to get free data, maybe some government intervention money that does not exist, or Amazon celebrating 8 years and giving some vouchers away that don't exist. We also have very, riding up to prominence, opportunity scams and investment scams. These have become quite a big issue. And what we're doing as an organization is we've set up an intel team. That team is just concerned with picking up information, using OSINT skills, open source intelligence skills. Sorry, let me not throw out some jargon. Open source intelligence skills, to investigate and find out whether or not a platform is legitimate. And then if it's not legitimate, we put out information so people, if they Google search it, can know that this platform is definitely a fraud. And what we've also done is we've also collaborated with another platform, I think in Netherlands, that sort of aggregates all of these fraudulent platforms and can tell people as well on that side that this is a fraudulent platform. And one of the key things we've been able to achieve with that team is sometimes, because of the work we're doing, we're able to help law enforcement bring down or shut down websites that are fraudulent. And I'll share one example. One of those times we found this investment website that was built by a company that had no idea that that platform was an investment scam. And so when we put out a well-analyzed, post about this particular platform, the people who built it, because they were involved in, they also put out the information about that company, reached out and said, we knew nothing about this. So what we have done is we have shut down the website. We have reached out to clients and, told us quite a lot of things they have done. But what they have done is they've sort of put that website off distribution on their platform. And then we of course, updated that post saying, this organization did not know, that they were building a website for a fraudster. For us, those are some of the key things we're able to do in the system to ensure that people are not scammed. We also know that among the top 5 other threats we are actively seeing is malware attacks. A lot of Nigerians also download music and games from illegal websites, torrents, and all of that carry ransomware and many other variants of malware. We're seeing ransomware attacks. We're also seeing cloud misconfigurations and supply chain attacks. The very famous recent biggest ransomware attack also hit Nigerian organizations as well. So supply chain attacks are big. They trickle right down also up to Nigeria. Credential data and identity theft also are big issues here. People are stealing people's guessing people's passwords, getting into their accounts, using their Facebook accounts to defraud other people, or people are posing as authority figures and defrauding people as well. And then just generally, I would say insider threats also are ranking top 5 in Nigeria.
Yeah, so heavy on social engineering, where people are being coerced, to either give over credentials or send money. Yeah, I think in a blog that you wrote recently, you said that if you were queen of the world, one behavior you'd change to make everyone safer would be for people to stop falling for social engineering attacks. I guess in your opinion, why is social engineering just such a prevalent threat?
Okay, so I think it's just the fact that we're human and we're all susceptible because we all have emotions. This is something computers don't have. Computers don't know how to feel fear. Computers don't know how to feel greed. Computers don't know how to feel opportunistic, if there's any such word. Computers don't have those emotions, and it just sometimes takes the right context and the right timing, to have that exploited, and then it opens just a rabbit hole of opportunities for cyber criminals. And I believe that's why it's so devastating. Also, because the people pillar in cybersecurity drives just about every other thing. I mean, if we want to talk about processes as well, people drive that. If you want to talk about technology, people actually man technology, and that's why we have a threat like cloud misconfigurations, because people are still driving that bit of work. So that's why social engineering is quite devastating, because once the human element is again defeated, or the things that make us human are leveraged, let me put it that way, leveraged to make us vulnerable, it's quite devastating what the effects can be. And like I said, just the right context, just the right situation, just the right frame of mind, just the right timing could be all if a cyber criminal requires. And a case in point is one of my personal experiences here. A friend of mine, that works for a major global organization, major global media organization, had tried to add someone to her banking platform a day before, and she couldn't add that person as a beneficiary to her account to make a transfer. And then the next day, she received an email that looked like it was from her bank, telling her that X, Y, and Z had been added as a beneficiary to her account. And if she did not recognize the person, she could click on a particular link. And of course, when she looked, she definitely didn't recognize the person, because again, that was a plot. And she immediately, out of panic, and because again, the context was right, he had just not been able to add somebody the previous day, and she clicked on the link, and she was only lucky that the damage hadn't gotten as bad as it could get. But we found out that it wasn't just about stealing her credentials that the cyber criminal was about. They had planted a backdoor on her device, so whether or not she was changing her banking passwords did not matter, so these are the realities, and why social engineering and people generally, the people component is quite huge, and why this is a big problem.
Yeah. And what can people do to stop falling for these scams? Awareness is a huge part of this. You've given some amazing stories about how just by making more people aware of the risks here in social engineering and in security overall has drawn people out. The example you gave of the web designers who or the web engineers who realized that actually they created that fraudulent site, and they could take it down, they could alert clients. That's an amazing thing. What advice and what recommendations do you have for people, beyond the general awareness? How can people stay safe from these kinds of social engineering attacks?
I'll just give 2 tips. The first thing is to know what the recent and trending tactics used by cyber criminals are, because they change over time. Like I mentioned, opportunity scams are increasing now, because and that's explicable because there's a job crisis in Nigeria, for example. So a lot of people want to leave Nigeria to other parts of the world for better opportunities, greener pastures, if I may say. So cyber criminals are leveraging that, and just about any other trending topic or issues of society is used by cyber criminals. So knowing and updating yourself, or concerning yourself intentionally about understanding how these scams are happening per time, is a strong tool of defense for yourself. And maybe the most important thing I would say on this podcast is a strategy I personally use, which is stop and think. I never take any decision, especially actions online, that I do not stop and think. If I have to hurry, then I'm not going to do it because I need to stew over it. I need to, sort of look at it logically. The thing with hurrying and doing things actually in fear, like the example I gave you about my friend, is that you're no longer logical. So even if you knew that this thing could happen, even if you knew that, oh, there was such a thing as harmful links or harmful attachments, the likelihood of you clicking on that link increases when you are afraid, because you're no longer taking logical decisions or taking logical actions. So it's important that you take up the strategy of stop and think. It should be something that you embrace as a way of living. And I can go on and on, but maybe I should share a very personal experience as well. I received this email some time ago, at a time when Cybergirls was actually running a lot around crowdfunding opportunities. We're looking for monies and we're open to being crowdfunded, and we were running campaigns around crowdfunding. And I received this email, that said this company was a crowdfunding marketing company. That means they help you market and crowdfund, and then they get a percentage. I mean, that made perfect sense. And I was supposed to take an action to sort of engage and continue the conversation. And I would say lucky for me, because again, I wasn't at my workstation. I was on holiday at the time. So I don't touch anything regarding work during my holiday. It's me time, And I was like, oh, I'm going to take care of this later on. Later on, this was like a Saturday. So later on was, say, like a Monday. And I came to my desk and I started looking through that email, consciously doing the normal checks, which is, look at the sender's email address, try to look at the links and if they're malicious. And that was when I discovered that literally that was an attacker, that had, that tried to use a context that I could sit in. It was literally spear phishing. So it's important that you stop and think. If I had not stopped, if in the excitement of the moment I was like, oh, we're looking for money and this is someone that's going to help us, they have a client base of this so, I could have jumped on that and that could have been a different story altogether. So it's important that you do not take decisions or take actions when you're feeling any kind of extreme emotion, that you actually stop and think with every single link you click or attachment you open. I generally don't click links in emails anyway.
Yeah, I love that point. Stop and think. I mean, that's a powerful motto, I think, just for security in general. Stop, think, and just take the time to really digest why you've been sent this message and what the what it could potentially be used to do in terms of causing harm. I think what's really interesting, this shows that even cybersecurity experts can be duped by these kinds of scams sometimes, and that is really scary. You've spoken about a lot of how this impacts individuals and what we have to be aware of, as citizens, but how does this impact businesses? Is it different in terms of the advice or the scams that you see when cyber criminals are targeting companies rather than targeting individuals? Is there more at stake? Are the techniques the same? Or, and again, what tips do you have for businesses and how they can stay safe?
I think for businesses, we're seeing a lot more spear phishing than we're just seeing spraying around the place. So people are targeted, and then from there on, it becomes they open kind of worms literally in that organization. So for me, I would say that generally speaking, organizations should be more intentional about building a cybersecurity awareness culture. Is that culture that drives quite a lot? Is that culture that drives, is security important? Is that culture that drives a consciousness that security does not belong in one part of the business. It doesn't belong to IT, it doesn't belong to the nerdy guys, it doesn't belong to the guys upstairs. It belongs to all of us. We all have our shared responsibility towards ensuring that our organization is secure. And I think it's that culture that drives also how often and what are the tactics used in driving awareness. And just to give people a bit of my own thoughts around that, I think that we shouldn't approach cybersecurity awareness from a compliance perspective. I find a lot of organizations are only doing, let's say, 2 cybersecurity awareness events that every employee has to come for. And that's maybe because of a PCI DSS certification that they're working on, or some, one compliance need they have to meet. It should go way past that. It should happen very often. It should be ingrained in people's thinking, and the way they interact with technology. It should be embedded in both online and offline workspaces. People need to come into work and see something that reminds them about cyber safety. People need to log into the portal and see something really nice that also reminds them. So they need to make sure that the learnings that you propagate around cyber awareness are reinforced every day for your employees. Is very, very important. It's also very, very important that you put some sort of safety net. So when people make these mistakes, you should have some sort of safety net to cushion the effects. And that's where many other technology or processes can come in. But it's important that is put in place, and there should be also a feedback mechanism where people can actually safely without fear be able to communicate what they have encountered, that might be fraudulent, or might be a cyber safety or cyber security concern to that organization. So I think very strongly the need to create a culture that makes cybersecurity awareness very important, that makes it everybody's business. And maybe possibly I will spray on that, you should have champions too, within your organization that is driving this whole agenda.
And one of the key things you mentioned there is that for businesses, the attacks can be even more targeted. And I guess that's because, there's so much more context online that can be used to create these very, very sophisticated, socially engineered emails that look very convincing. You could impersonate a supplier, you could impersonate a trusted third party. And of course, businesses hold more capital than individuals, so the sums and the losses can be even greater. So yeah, these are really, really important dynamics. And when you mentioned this point about building a security culture internally, I think a lot of organizations struggle with this, where they are trying to empower their people. At the same time, they're also trying to keep people secure. And I spoke to somebody recently, and they said that once they were asked, what is the opposite of security? And they said it's insecurity. And they said, no, it's not insecurity. The opposite of security is convenience.
Exactly.
And I think that is what having a great security culture is about. Is how do you have both? How are you secure, but also you're providing a great working environment, productivity, convenience, and all of that. So it'd be great to hear your thoughts and again, starting principles really for organizations who are grappling with this.
Yeah, I also just want to add there that this culture is not one that is meant for everybody else but the CEO, or every other person but the guys at the top, or the guys that are in the board are exempted. No, I believe that in building that culture, it's important that the CEO becomes a poster child of any cyber program, especially cyber awareness initiatives within your organization. I find that if that happens, it sets it up for success. When the CEO is seen being part of those cyber awareness cyber awareness initiatives, is actually attending those events or things that are organized to drive cyber awareness, it makes people sort of say, oh, this is important to the organization. And that's like silent messaging that's being sent out by just seeing top management officials being part of this event. So if you're struggling with a culture change that drives safer habits within your organization, it's time to look at what the top management is actually doing, even when they are not saying anything.
Yeah, it's so important. Leading and leadership from the top, I think, on this, you have to set the example for everybody else. So often we see organizations where there are senior people who feel that they are above the law when it comes to security, but actually the reality is that usually it will be senior people or executives that are the most targeted, because they control the flow of money and other things. So I think it's very good advice. Confidence, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the work that you have done with Cybergirls and the work that you're doing to encourage more girls to think about a career in cybersecurity. Could you tell us more about the program and what the program is out to achieve?
Oh, the Cybergirls is just a baby in my heart, and that's because Cybergirls reminds me of all of the struggles I had to come into tech in the first place. I started coding at age 18 or 19. Before that time, I had no access to computers. I'd never touched a computer before. And so that particular experience, and just that particular experience changed everything for me, changed the trajectory of my life. At that age, I wanted to be something else different. I wanted to be a medical doctor, and that changed everything. I knew that, oh, this was something I loved, and I just wanted to pursue the career in tech. And from there on, I started looking out for opportunities, and from one scholarship to the other. Just to put it, just to give some context, I'm not from a wealthy family. I mean, by Nigerian standards, I'm from a poor family by Nigerian standards, and by any standards in the world. So I couldn't afford a computer of my own. For example, it was a struggle going to the learning center to learn, but it was such a joy. I came back home with my eyes lit up. My parents could see that this was exciting for me, and because it was exciting for me, I was putting in my all. So for me, I look back, 20 years, not up to 20 years, but many years back. And I want to give more girls the opportunity I had, because I'm looking at myself today, and I'm literally, I'm changing the world, my world, my part of the world. I'm making such valuable contributions. If I was to give myself a little bit of credit here, if we have a lot more girls given that opportunity that they normally would not have had, or that these constraints were constantly on their way to getting, imagine how much change the world could experience. And so I am looking at cybersecurity, not just as something to help organizations or people be more secure, but also as a poverty alleviation tool. What if, giving girls these digital skills that are such in demand could help them and their whole families come out of poverty, like it did mine? And so for me, that's something that's personal. Cybergirls is personal, because it gives me the opportunity to create more possible confidences, if that makes any sense. But it gives me the opportunity to plant and raise girls that would just be working in purpose, and living their dreams they never thought was an option before now. And so that's what we're doing. What we're doing is that we're picking girls from underserved communities across Nigeria, and very soon across Africa, to give them to equip them with globally sought after cybersecurity skills. And how are we doing that? We're doing that through intensive training, we're doing that through mentorship, and we're doing that through internship and job placement. And what that is going to do for every girl that comes through this program is they will gain skills that are very hands-on as well, and understand cybersecurity enough to make an entrance. So it's been very, very fulfilling, and we have quite interesting stories. We have an example like Atana. Atana came from the rural part of her state to the urban area just to be part of this program. And so for someone who didn't know anything about computers, she's currently working on Linux. She's able to use Linux. She's able to use Wireshark as we speak right now. She's growing her skills, and she's topping her class. Atana would not have been able to have access to this kind of training, because she wouldn't have had internet. She wouldn't have had power, for example, constant power. She wouldn't have been able to pay for it in the first place. And this program is entirely free and well thought through. So for me, I'm just looking forward to all of the successes that Cybergirls is going to be able to record. And there are many stories like Katana. We have Fela, for example, who is documenting her experience learning on Cybergirls on LinkedIn. Many such success stories that are brewing from there.
I mean, it's so amazing. Talking about, just the opportunity that this program is giving these girls. We hear so often just the talent shortage that exists within the cybersecurity community globally. We need more people going into this industry. And the final thing is, unfortunately, like the rest of the technology industry, diversity is a challenge. It's so important that we drive more diversity into the security industry as well. And the question I was going to have for you is, in your opinion, why is diversity so important in cybersecurity? And what can businesses, what can people who are in this industry do to encourage more diversity?
Very interesting questions. I think first and foremost, diversity is very important because the people we're up against are not from one gender. They are also not from one part of the world. So understanding or knowing those dynamics and contributing the strengths that we share with our differences as humans does definitely come in cybersecurity. So the need to have women, people of color, and white people, and whatever color you are, come into the workforce, whatever gender you are, come into the workforce, and opening the door wide and giving people these opportunities, or ensuring that the barriers are not in their way to getting in. There are no barriers in their way to getting in. Removing those barriers is very key to ensuring that we're able to tackle cybercrime that comes in many colors and is irrespective of gender and race. So it's very important that we're able to allow for that to happen. But it's not something that will most likely happen organically. We have to be intentional about creating the channels, about attracting these different people to the workforce. And I would say intentional because from my experience running Cybergirls, these girls, for example, a lot of them say, oh, the place of the role models, seeing someone that has gone ahead of them, has shown them the possibilities and the opportunities and the prospects for them in cybersecurity. I find that being intentional about creating that, showing people that opportunity, helps us attract more people to come into tech, and importantly, come into cybersecurity. And then businesses have to be intentional about seeing, okay, how can we support initiatives that are actually doing work in the space? Currently, for example, we're looking for sponsors because one of our biggest problems right now is funding. Looking for, organizations can step up to support initiatives like us. I mean, there are many other initiatives doing work across different parts of the world, but supporting these initiatives ensures that when you're looking to make your team more gender balanced, for example, more diverse, what that would mean is you already have the resources, and you will not be picking up somebody that you're just giving the opportunity just because they're female. No, you will get opportunities of trained professionals that actually of whatever that bring in diversity, if I was going to put it that way. So it's important that businesses support initiatives that drive diversity, and they should have programs, especially at the entry level, that levels the playing ground for professionals that you get to hire. So those initiatives will drive and ensure that those barriers to diversity are crushed.
Confidence, thank you so much for your time today. For someone with so much going on, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. And I know that you're going to inspire a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. We like to wrap up all of our interviews with some rapid fire questions to get to know the humans on the Human Layer Security podcast a little bit better.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you, what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice would be just that. I mean, before now, I used to be someone who thinks so much, so through, and so much so that I bog myself down the details and not exactly go ahead with it, because there'll be things that I can't fix, that are out of my reach. But just starting, that advice has changed a lot for me.
And if everything in your diary had been cleared for the day, how would you spend your day?
Oh, I will just go dancing. Yeah.
And my last question is, what is the best book you've ever read?
The best book. Did you say best book?
Yeah, that's right. Best book.
Okay, Blue Ocean Strategy.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Confidence, thank you so much. We're thrilled to have had you on the show. We really appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I had fun as well chatting with you.
And that just leaves me to say thank you very much for listening. We'll be back with more human layer security insights in our next episode. But if you can't wait that long, you can visit our blog at tessian.com/blog, where you'll find lots of amazing content, advice, and tips. And if you enjoyed our show, please rate and review it on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.